The Franco regime, which had very good trade relations with Germany, supported its war machine with raw materials. The relationship was so strong that Franco sent the Blue Division, a military unit of volunteers and phalangists, to join the German infantry in the invasion of the Soviet Union. The Axis began to fall apart. Despite the apparent superiority of the Reich, the Allied armies started gaining the upper hand, once German General Rommel's troops in North Africa had been defeated. On the night of the 9th-10th of July 1943, Allied forces landed on Sicily. It was the first time the Allies set foot on European soil. In a few days, Mussolini's dictatorship collapsed. On the 24th of July, faced with this situation, the Italian Fascist Grand Council met. Most of its members rebelled against Mussolini. They voted to break off with Germany and return command to King Victor Emmanuel III, who ordered the arrest of the dictator.
In the summer of 1943, Mussolini's regime fell. Some fascists began to say, war is not going as it should. It's a matter of time before the Axis loses the war. We have to start thinking about what will happen if we lose the war. Where are we going to flee to? And since Franco's Spain had not entered the war, Spain was considered as a destination, albeit an intermediate one, in the planning of the flight.
With the fall of the fascist regime in Italy, rumors began to circulate that the Duce and members of his regime were seeking refuge in neutral territory. So, the Allied government sent a memorandum to all neutral countries warning against granting asylum to war criminals.
The US expects that no neutral government will allow its territory to be used as a refuge.
Sweden, Ireland, and Turkey were unwilling to give asylum to fascists trying to flee. Europe awaited Spain's response. Franco's authorities were still undecided regarding the possible arrival of the refugees. As a result, support and escape structures emerged for fascists from countries such as Italy and France, and for Nazis in Germany who were being persecuted. Ratlines were created.
Ratlines is a name given by the Allied secret services when they realize that many of these war criminals are on the run. When the ship of the Third Reich is sinking, these are the rats who jump ship, searching for escape routes to save their lives, to save their skins.
Reaching safe territory was not easy. It required the collaboration of many people and considerable logistical structures, places to hide, money to pay for accommodation, food or tickets, or contacts to obtain the relevant documentation, passports, safe conducts, photographs, identity documents that were usually forged. All this required a considerable level of organization. This is why not every city could be part of the Ratlines. It was necessary to have a network of contacts, a government in tune with it, and a pre-established structure.
When you hear the word ratline, you think of a very organized and formal process in which Nazis are escaping. But ratlines are anything but. They are very informal, very loose, and essentially what they are is they are a connection of people living in towns and villages who know the person in the next town and village. So if you're a Nazi wanting to escape and you turn up to a town, you're given shelter, perhaps in a pub or a hotel, and then what happens is maybe a telephone call or a message is sent to the next town to say, can you look after this man? He's going to come tomorrow. So that's how initially a Nazi will travel down a rat line. But what Nazis also need is false documentation.
Thanks to the Ratlines, many Nazis, fascists, and other war criminals found a safe haven within the Franco regime. However, the Spanish authorities reacted differently depending on the person arriving. Many less important soldiers or collaborationists crossed the border into Spain through the Pyrenees. They were often arrested as soon as they arrived in Spain. Afterwards, they were sent to concentration camps like Miranda de Ebro, Nanclares de la Oca, or even to Carabanchel prison. The situation was more complex if the person fleeing was a fascist of great political relevance. Allied pressure put Franco's government in a bind. But these people had contacts within the regime. Powerful people, who operating via diplomatic channels, were able to secure the freedom of war criminals in Spain. 3 ratlines created in Madrid started to operate. The first ratline was that of Johannes Bernhardt and Clarita Stauffer.
Johannes Bernhardt is this really fascinating figure. He's essentially German, and he had fought in the First World War for Germany. He had won a medal. And after the war, he became a very successful businessman in Hamburg. But then that business collapsed, and he ends up in Spanish Morocco. Now, it's from there that he starts to ingratiate himself with the fascists, and he even meets Franco.
In 1938, Bernhardt created Sofindus, a company set up to promote trade relations between Spain and Germany, whose offices were located at Generalissimo Avenue No. 1, very close to Columbus Square, almost facing the German embassy in Madrid. Sofindus would serve to channel all the aid that Franco's government sent to the Third Reich through the Pyrenean railway station at Canfranc.
Sofindus's objective as a company was to make money. How important is Sofindus for the Ratlines? Well, the Ratlines need money. That's why Bernhardt is such an important figure. He has political contacts, but he also has the economic strength to enable the creation of these structures.
One of Bernhardt's objectives was to guarantee the supply of raw materials for the Nazi war machine, mainly tungsten, a key element at the time to reinforce the armor of tanks, which was easily found in Galicia. Between 1941 and 1943, Spain sold 3,300 tons of tungsten to Germany.
Tungsten was extremely important. The main suppliers of tungsten to Nazi Germany were Spain and Portugal. They were the leading producers of tungsten in Europe at the time. Johannes Bernhardt, a short man with a hat and a long overcoat, used to go in his official car to the mines in Salamanca or Galicia, buying tungsten from whoever would sell it to him, and then look for shortcuts to transport the tungsten by whatever means possible.
Faced with the imminent defeat of the Third Reich, Bernhardt organized a meeting in April at his home in Madrid at Valley Avenue No. 3. The objective was to create the Bernhardt Ratline to try to help his compatriots who wanted to escape from Germany. 32 of the most important members of the Nazi community in Madrid attended the meeting. Among them probably Paul Winzer, Hans Lazar, Heinrich Hoffmann, Eberhard von Sture, Wilhelm von Vaupel, Reinhard Spitzi and Clarita Stauffer, perhaps the most important figure alongside Bernhardt. Clarita Stauffer, a woman of great importance in the escape network, single, sportswoman, swimmer, skier, close friend of Pilar Primo de Rivera, a firm and determined woman in her National Socialist ideas.
Her father ran the Mao Brewery in Spain, so, he had money and she was very well connected. She realizes that helping hundreds, if not thousands of Nazis escape is going to cost a lot of money. Clothes have got to be bought, shoes have to be bought. This network isn't just going to run on air. And the person who's providing all the money for this particular ratline is an industrialist called Johannes Bernhardt. And it's thanks to Bernhardt that Stauffer is able to run her kind of empire, if you like. And she works incredibly hard at doing so.
Clarita Stauffer, according to what one of her nephews told me, had in her house dozens and dozens of shirts, socks, shoes, boots, pants, canteens, all kinds of items to help the fleeing Nazis at the end of the war.
Despite the fall of Germany, Bernhardt was able to maintain his business. The good relationship he had with the Allies meant that at the end of the war, he was in an ideal position to continue his activities, living in Madrid and Denia. Bernhardt was a clever man who looked after his own interests, regardless of his ideology.
We must understand that as the war comes to an end, the Allies initiate a plan to seize all possessions of Nazi Germany, or linked to Nazi Germany in neutral countries. This is what they called Operation Safe Haven. Nazi Germany has been defeated on the battlefield and must also be defeated economically.
While collaborating with Nazi Germany and Franco's authorities, Johannes Bernhardt informed the Allies of everything that was going on. He was part of Operation Safe Haven, a program of the Allied powers aimed at ensuring that the Third Reich did not hide money in neutral countries, as Spain was supposed to be.
When Bernhardt saw that this might actually affect the network of companies that Findus had created, he managed to convince them that these companies no longer served the Nazis, but they were nevertheless very useful to Franco's regime, that they are very useful even for international trade, which means that allowing Findus to continue to exist was something that benefited everyone, but no longer benefited Nazi Germany.
Many Nazi war criminals arrived in Madrid via Bernhardt's escape route. The most relevant case was that of Otto Skorzeny. Skorzeny was one of the major figures in Bernhardt's extensive network of contacts. He was a remarkable man, a legendary SS general who, working directly for Hitler, led the liberation of Mussolini, who had been arrested by the new pro-Allied government in Italy. His exploits and scars gave him a reputation that preceded him wherever he went. After World War II, he was arrested, fled, and after hiding in Germany and France, arrived in Madrid, where he settled permanently. Skorzeny was a well-connected man. He had loyal friends, people with money who were willing to help him. Using the networks created there by Johannes Bernhardt, Skorzeny was able to create a front company on the Gran Via in Madrid, which allowed him to earn a lot of money, protected by the Franco regime.
He is the man who is creating, from his house in Madrid, an international network of spies, superheroes, super soldiers, people who are somehow also organizing spectacular actions in the global fight against communism.